I hope everybody can hear me. We only found out about an hour ago that we were having this wonderful special guest, so wish everybody to welcome President Higgins and Behan.
Love you.
The President has always been a wonderful supporter of John's work and very kindly opened an exhibition here 2 years ago, so we're really delighted that you've been able to come back. This evening, Peter Sheridan is going to open the exhibition with a few words, and Peter very kindly also spoke at the premiere of a new film by Donald Taylor Black, which was premiered at the IFI last Monday. We're hoping it's going to be on the screen somewhere near you very soon, but it's a beautiful film, feature-length documentary about John and the amazing work that he's been doing over the last 70 years, I suppose. And Peter grew up in Sheridan Street, which is where John was born. So I'll just pass it over to Peter. Thank you so much.
The documentary is not to be missed. It really is a special piece of film. And it was great for me to hook up with John again after so many years. You know, obviously I've looked and followed John's career. And the fact that he's a parishioner like myself of St. Lawrence O'Toole's made it very special for me to keep an eye on John's work over the years, you know. And that was a very special area where we both were born into. John in the posh end of the parish, and me at the poor end of the parish. John took the kind of the fine art route, and I took the theatre route. So I'll just tell you a kind of a story that I think connects a few kind of thematic things. This wonderful piece here, which Michael D and myself were both raving about a few minutes ago, is just full of personality. You look at those figures and they're small, but there's something really going on inside each of them. And in a way, that was a really dominant thing in the Sheridan Street area, the sense of character. And John himself was a character. John wore hats always. He would have been known as John the Hat, because he had such a collection of hats. And growing up in that area as I did, there were so many characters. And when my father started a drama group in 1968, he said to me, "Son, I want you to play Tommy Owens in The Shadow of a Gunman" by Sean O'Casey. And of course, Sean O'Casey was a parishioner of ours. Lived just around the corner in Abercorn Road for many, many years. But when my father cast me, he said to me, "Now son, this character, O'Casey tells us, is a shoulder shrugger. And these people here look like they might be shoulder shruggers." What's a shoulder shrugger? Well, a lot of men were shoulder shruggers back in them days. And the character I decided to base my interpretation on was a man from St. Bridget's Gardens called Osler Moore. Now, I didn't really know what an osler was back then, but that's a slight mispronunciation of the English word ostler. You get lots of ostlers in Shakespeare's plays, horsemen. And of course, this Osler was also a horseman, which is how he got his name. And he was famous in Sheridan Street because he knocked down a wall between two of the bedrooms so he could accommodate a horse he was looking after. He was such a character. So I said to my dad, "I'm going to base it on Osler Moore from Bridget's Gardens." He said, "That's a terrific idea." So Osler had that Dublin shoulder shrugger. You know, it's 2 steps forward and 1 back. Thick in a coat. So I stood in front of the mirror and I practiced my shoulder shrugging and my little walk backwards and forwards. And I played Tommy Owens in The Shadow of a Gunman, a la Osler Moore. And it was great to do it, but I never expected he would come and see the play. So he was sitting in the second row of the Orion Hall, staring at me, doing an imitation of me. I got lots of laughs from my Tommy Owens interpretation. And after, Osler cornered me, and he said, "That was very bleeding funny. That was really funny. The shoulders and all on you, Jesus, that was very funny. I nearly broke me, you know what, laughing at you. And I know who you were imitating and all. Larry Bleeding Malloy." He didn't even see himself. But that was Sheridan Street. And that sense of character is present in all of John's work. The characters feel like they're those Sheridan Street characters, drovers, dockers, people associated with the river. And growing up in that area, it was just so rich. And as I made my own journey through the theatre, I was always drawing on what had happened in my early life in Sheridan Street, the school I went to, the football team I played for, Sheriff United, captain of the under-12s. Never was much into the GAA back then. It was very much a division between the GAA and soccer back when I was a kid. You were either one or the other, and we were the soccer household. But I was very aware of the GAA because John and Ned Sinnott ran a paper shop at the top of Sheridan Street, and they both had played in the Dublin teams of the 1920s, two brothers. And they famously played for O'Toole's. O'Toole's club, a great club in that area. They created a record by winning the county championship from 1921 to 1929, 8 years in a row. And the two Sinnott boys would talk about it when you went into them in the shop. So there was always this sense of local history and local tradition going on, which John has captured and developed so brilliantly in his book. That sense of a place bursting, a place at the crossroads. And I had the privilege a couple of years after of actually doing a community drama project, which Michael D actually, on another part of his life, when he was back Minister for Culture, came around to see some of the people I worked with in that project. It was called the City Workshop. And one of the plays we developed, I'll just very quickly tell the story, was set in the Monto area of Dublin. Now the Monto was called after Montgomery Street. Montgomery Street became Railway Street, it's now Joyce Street. But the Monto was a 1 mile square area, and I got 12 people mainly from the Sheriff Street flats in Sheridan Street to become participants in this drama project. So I sat them down and I said, we're going to do a play about the Monto. Now one of the few things I knew about the Monto was that it closed in one night. I've always grew up on stories that the Monto, this red light district at the back of where, in Marlborough Street, very near the Pro Cathedral, that this red light area was closed down on one night when the church had a march through the area and they nailed crucifixes to the doors of the brothels. And the Garda cars, the cars came in and took the women away and put them in Magdalen laundries and convents all around the city of Dublin. So I sat these people down and I gave them my bit of knowledge of what I knew about the Monto. And one of them pipes up, this girl Jean Doyle, said, well Peter, my granny and granddad lived in the Monto. I said, oh, that's very good. And where did they live? They lived in Montgomery Street, the street after which the Monto was called. I said, and what happened to them? She said, well, my grandfather, he joined the British Army in 1914. And he went off to fight the First World War, and he had his eye blown out at the Battle of the Somme, April 1916. And he came back to Dublin, to me granny, to the flat, with his eye blown out. And he was afraid to go out then, because he was very vain. You know, and he thought he looked very ugly with the eye missing. So he wrote to the British authorities and asked them for a glass eye. And they sent him a glass eye, but it was the wrong colour. So he sent it back, and it took them 5 goes to get it right. So he got 5 glass eyes. She said, I have one of them here in my handbag. I nearly fell off the chair I was sitting on when this woman takes a box out of her handbag and opens it and produces a glass eye. And then she put it in to her own eye. And she did an imitation of her granddad. He said, I don't know if that story's any good, is it? I went over and I just kissed her. I said, that story contains everything you need to know about what was happening in Dublin in 1916. Because what happened was after he got the 5th eye, it was 1919, and he put his British Army uniform on and went out into the streets of Dublin to be pelted with rotten vegetables. He didn't realise that Ireland in that 4 or 5 year period had transformed and changed after the Easter Rising. And the idea of having a story about a glass eye as being a metaphor for the presence of the British in Dublin was just so profound and incredible to me. And so we did this play based around that story. The glass eye story, as everybody in Dublin called it. But that story would never have been told unless that drama project happened. And that person had a venue and a place in which to tell her story and recapture. I'll sing you one verse of the famous Monto song to finish off. You've all know the Monto song, yeah? If you've got a wingo, take her up to Ringo, where the waxy singo all the day. If you've had your fill of porter, you can't go any further. Give your man the order, back to the K, and take her up to Monto, Monto, Monto. Take her up to Monto, Langaroo. To you, how's your father? Game on. So I'd love to wish John all the best for this exhibition, and Michael D and Sabina reuniting with me here today to celebrate John's incredible work, incredible talent, and with a little bit of Sheridan Street and all of these pieces. I'm telling you. Yeah. Cheers.